Hey, don't want to wait so long in between main channel meatball content? Well, check out some links in the description because these thumbnails on screen are other videos you probably missed. How's it going, everybody? Chaotic Meatball here, and welcome back to the channel. About time we got back around to uploading twice a week over here, since if I can upload 3 to 4 times a week on the TCG channel, then I've got time to do this. I figured returning to some legendary hardcore Nuzlocks would be a fun time, using mons that I don't get to normally use, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Volcanion is one of the most interesting and cool one-off legendaries, being a fire-water type, not to mention having a massive base defense and offensive potential. We're sitting on a tank that can fire back and water back, haha, more than it takes in. Speaking of firing, we've got an amazing moveset to work with, even at the beginning here. As a level 5, Volcanion manages to start with Steam Eruption, a 110 power, 95% accurate version of Scald that has a 30% chance of burning the target, as well as Flare Blitz and Takedown, giving me a wide variety of attacks to go with, though not that much in terms of not doing damage to myself. Anyway, the rules are in the description as always. Make sure to give the video a like, let's aim for 2,500 likes. Comment down below what other legendaries and games you'd want to see, maybe even some ROM hacks in the future for legendaries. Subscribe, and one extra thing I haven't been pushing enough lately, and that's Twitter. You see all of these creators on screen, you know, Ace Trainer Liam, Pokemon Challenges, A-Drive, all these people are verified on Twitter. And you know, I would like to be verified on Twitter just to be able to say that I have a stupid checkmark next to my name, so go over there and follow, do all of the dumb stuff. After all, how are we a channel with 117,000 subscribers here at House Meatball? But the Twitter only has about 2,150 followers. But you look at MBT's Twitter and he's got 91,000 subscribers with 30,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know, maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Has more of a fan base on Twitter, but with the verified boys, I don't know about that. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now, and I'm gonna tell you how I shot a bunch of animals with boiling water and fire and shit. So of course, which starter do I change? Well, I can't change Trico. Having my rival have Torchic would be unfair since I'm both super effective and quad resistant against fire. Can't replace Mudkip either since Trico's line gets incinerated, giving me one choice, that being replacing Torchic so that May has Mudkip. Not that it matters, seeing as we have Water Absorb, but it also has the ground type, so that's super effective and probably the most fair that I can make it. After 2 takedowns manages to fell May's Mudkip, I'm able to get some Pokeballs and begin the bulk of the run. So what EV spread do we use on Volcanion for this? Well, I want to train specifically in HP and special attack. Volcanion's worst status speed, and I'd rather be able to soak up more damage rather than outspeed stuff. Plus, if I do need to build up speed to sweep a team, I'll have access to Flame Charge pretty early. Level 2 Wurmple are the best Pokemon to take down for this, giving me 15 EXP per encounter, while level 2 Ralts on Route 102 provide 20 EXP. And you may be wondering, wait a second, don't Ralts only come at level 3 there? Well, technically in single encounters, yes, but through Horde encounters later I'll be able to get level 2s, so I'm just focusing on HP for the time being before I can just catch something randomly that has Sweet Sant. Not much else to talk about before the first gym, say other than the Magma Grunt in the Petalburg Woods who falls immediately, leaving just the gym battle against Roxanne. Now you might think this would be difficult, after all, fire is weak to rock, and while yes this could have been a little bit more wonky, thankfully, she only has a single Geodude and a Nosepass, and only the former has the modern version of Sturdy, as opposed to the 3 Pokemon she has in Emerald, so I get a little bit more leeway. Unfortunately, I missed Takedown in the effort to take out Sturdy without getting her to use a healing item on the first turn, so I just move over to Steam Eruption, eventually knocking her down to 1 HP, forcing a potion, and it's not enough to fully heal Geodude, allowing for a second to KO as Nosepass comes in and falls to a single Steam Eruption for the win. Not terrible, could have definitely looked up that a single potion wouldn't have healed Geodude fully, but we'll know that for next time if we lose this attempt. Keyword if, I'm not going to let that happen pretty easily. Luckily, there's not too much between gyms 1 and 2 due to the level cap only increasing from 14 to 16, with the only required battle being against a Team Magma Grunt over in the Rust Turf Tunnel between me and the Dewford Town Gym. The trainers inside are required to progress, but they don't overlevel Volcanion, so it's not that big of a deal. I made sure to not edge up for Roxanne exclusively for this purpose, because of such a small gap between levels. With that though, I'm level 16 and ready to take on Brawly. Yeah, so this was exactly 2 Steam Eruptions that outsped, and one-shot both Machop and Makihita. What else are you gonna expect? The sheer power behind Volcanion burns down all foes. Late game will definitely be where the challenge resides. Our level cap increases to 21 before Watson, and despite it going up so much for this early in the game, there's still quite a bit to do. There's the delivery of the letter to Steven in Granite Cave in exchange for a useless TM, Team Magmit's attempted takeover of the Oceanic Museum, complete with 2 required battles, with the culmination of this point of the game being the second battle against May on Route 110. Normally, this would be quite a problem, and is notoriously a hard battle for runs because of how close it is to the level cap, and the middle evolution of the starter usually being a pretty hard mon to take out, but I think this one won't be as bad. Though Marshtomp has Mudshot and Mudslap, which do super effective to Volcanion and lower my stats respectively in speed and accuracy, matched with a Shroomish with Effect Spore, in which I have no special fire type move to take care of and not trigger the ability, I might take a beating, but I'm not going down with this one. She leads with said Shroomish as I go with Flare Blitz to KO, and while I do have a Cherry Berry as my held item if worst comes to worst, Effect Spore doesn't end up triggering, leading to Marshtomp. Steam Eruption does massive damage, both burning Marshtomp and getting him into the red with it, as Mudshot lands for pretty big damage, lowering my speed by enough so that Marshtomp can outspeed next turn, but she wastes her turn with Foresight instead of using a second Mudshot. Thankfully, since Volcanion would have been in a close range of a KO if that happened, not that it matters, because once I take it out with a Flame Charge resetting my speed, third out is Slugma, which is obliterated by a Steam Eruption for the one-shot. That burn probably didn't do much to Marshtomp there, since Mudshot wasn't physical, but I think that made the Flame Charge play much safer than it could have been there, since I don't know how low of HP it needed to be to take it out with that. Probably would have been just easier to not use it since there was no chance of Slugma one-shotting or doing anything like outspeeding. It's a Slugma, what can you do? Moving on up through into Mauville City, we've got the quick battle against Wally and his Ralts, not Raleigh and his Waltz. I said that in a failed attempt, and I'm not going to let myself live that down, leaving just the gym, getting Volcanion up to level 21 and ready for Watson's team. Thankfully, 2 of his 3 Pokemon are part Steel types here, so we should have an easy time. Watson starts off with Magnemite, the only one of his team to have Sturdy, so I take the chance to use Flame Charge to gain some speed, then he uses Thunder Wave, killing it off with a Cherry Berry that's held item, giving me the chance to use 2 more Flame Charges for the KO through a Super Potion, getting to +3 speed, and giving me plenty enough to outspeed and KO both Voltorb and Magneton with Steam Eruption and Flare Blitz respectively, finishing the match and earning me the Dynamo Badge. Once again, can't ask for a better fight, burn down the power grid, and they'll all fall like a ton of bricks. Moving ahead, there's quite the chunk between here and Lava Ridge Town's gym, seeing as I've got to go through routes 112, 111, and 113. Yeah, I said that out of order to piss you off, what are you gonna do? Before hitting Fel Arbor Town, running through Route 114 to get to Meteor Falls, and rescue Dr. Cosmo from Tabitha and a random grunt that decided to throw the match by using Self-Destruct with his only Pokemon, using it and making it a 2-on-1 scenario, putting me at odds for the first time against Maxie atop Mount Chimney. Before him, though, I have to fight Tabitha in a singles battle. He made sure to eliminate that grunt thing that happened last time, which is an easy one thanks to Steam Eruption on Coughing and the newly learned Water Pulse on Numel. Now, this Maxie fight could go one of 2 ways, and that's either his AI does the correct thing and uses Mightyana's Swagger while I have a Persim Berry attached to get a free +2 speed off of 2 Flame Charges in a row, or because I didn't take Zigzagoon out of my party due to HMs, he'll use Roar and force me to swap in, take the Swagger without getting the speed boosts, and ruin my plan. Of course, because the AI is an asshole, he does the latter, though he doesn't use Swagger as I swap back in, likely seeing the KO on Zigzagoon. Instead, he goes for Assurance, doing minimal damage as I try this Flame Charge strategy again, this time getting the +2 as planned, leading to Camerupt, who goes down to Steam Eruption. Last out is Golbat, and I'm not taking the risk of the 95% accuracy on Steam Eruption, instead using that +2 attack given to me for free with Flare Blitz to KO and win the match. Meteorite in hand, it's time to get into Lava Ridge Town and take out Flannery. This should be an easy one. After all, I've got Steam Eruption, Water Pulse, and a fully EV-trained Volcanion by this point, thanks to the level caps of the last 2 chunks of the game, so this should be in the bag. First out is Slugma, an easy target for Water Pulse to KO in one shot, leading to Numel, who falls to the same. Last out is Torkoal, whom I figured Steam Eruption would one-shot, and sure enough it does. So, yeah, there's the Heat Badge. Overheat is also a nice little move to get the TM for. Not sure if I'll end up using it with Volcanion due to the water type attacks being super useful and all of those being special, but we'll see if it comes up as a last-ditch effort sort of attack at the end of a battle. Immediately after I leave the gym though, May brings me back to Petalburg without all of the stupid backtracking you'd have to do in the original Gen 3. Score 1 for Oras. Not many people give this game enough credit for streamlining the experience of Hoenn. After plowing through a couple of Norman's trainers though, I'm able to get up to the level cap of 30 and take his team on. It's a little rough since I don't have access to Protect, so I'll have to beat into these Slackings head first, but with Steam Eruption having the chance to burn and Water Pulse having the chance to confuse, so this shouldn't be a problem. He leads off with the first Slacking, so I go with Steam Eruption, missing as he uses Yawn, but taking it out in one shot next turn as Yawn takes effect, and of course I am using a different held item instead of a Chesto Berry, so I'm stuck here taking slashes from Vigoroth coming in second. Not a problem though, I take 2 of them, Volcanion wakes up and takes it out with a single Steam Eruption, leaving just the second Slacking. He uses Swagger, and my held item wasn't even the Persim Berry here. Instead, I went for an Oran Berry, thinking I was going to outspeed the 2 Slackings, but my guesstimates on that front were incorrect. Thankfully though, I get the burn on the first Steam Eruption with Volcanion, not hitting itself, leading to a Hyper Potion on a non-truant turn as I use a second, with a truant turn next turn, allowing for Volcanion to plow through Confusion for a 3rd time in a row, hitting Flame Charge for the KO and the win. Yeah, not sure why I went with the Oran Berry here. Probably would have been safer to go with the Persim Berry since A, Yawn doesn't take immediate effect, and B, Volcanion does outspeed and one-shot that one. But this is funnier. We prioritize throwing runs for content over being smart. Let the Smarty Pants creators do that. Volcanion also learns Scald here at level 31, so I replace Water Pulse as I want to keep a hold of Steam Eruption, and if both moves have a chance to burn, I think we're in a pretty good spot for nullifying physical attackers and just outright tanking special attackers. And with Wally bringing us back to Mauville City to travel east, once again streamlining the process of Hoenn, it's time for the true second half of the game to begin, and the real fun as well. So one of the interesting things about Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire is that we've got an interlude with Steven that forces me into a battle against Magma Admin Courtney. Not that the battle is any trouble, but at least I'm given a free Latios that'll fill out the remainder of my needed HMs to finish the game. Hilarious that in 2014, we still did not have a way to get through Hoenn other than having a Pokemon and a half full of these absolutely god-awful moves, minus Surf. With that done though, of course I headed through Route 120 into the Weather Institute for some more Magma Grunts, but before I get in there, I found a PP Max. Now this is not a sexual item, this is actually a great item for Steam Eruption, This is a great pickup for me since I can now use Steam Eruption 8 times in a battle instead of 5 without healing it, and make sure that might not be many extra uses. God damn it. 3 more 110 power moves with a 30% chance to burn is likely going to be useful against late game teams that have, 5 or 6 Pokemon on them. Magma Admin Tabitha sits at the end of the Weather Institute though, being felled by a single Scald on his Camerupt. Seriously, why does this guy only have 1 Pokemon by the time I'm already getting to the 6th gym? Well, in good news, I'm given a free cast form that holds the Mystic Water, a really good held item for just generic held item purposes that isn't a berry that I need to negate a status with. Anyway, before we can get into Fortree City, I've got a battle against May, which is the second to last main one of the game, and it goes extremely swimmingly, as Shroomish falls to Flare Blitz, Slugma comes out second and goes down to Scald, leaving just Marshtomp to fall to Steam Eruption. Guess I finally have more of a power advantage than I did last time, because I one-shot that thing with Steam Eruption this time around, rather than, having to two-shot it. With her done though, all I've got to do is grab the Devon Scope and head inside of the Fortree City Gym to take on Winona. She's got 4 Pokemon, which is pretty good for this point in the game, and all of them are rather strong, starting with Swellow and using Aerial Ace before I one-shot with Scald, leading to Altaria. Now, I don't even have anything that's even neutral effective against Dragon, so I just start blasting it with a mix of Scald and Steam Eruption, hoping for a burn to mitigate this Earthquake damage, which unfortunately never comes, though I am eventually able to run it out of Roosts, and take only 2 Earthquakes, taking it down with a third of Volcanion's HP left, KOing with one last Steam Eruption and leading to Pelipper. Thankfully, this numbskull has absolutely nothing to attack me with other than a weak Aerial Ace, so I'm able to KO with a Steam Eruption after one gets blocked with a Protect, then a Scald, leaving just Skarmory. Now I know this thing doesn't have sturdy, but I don't trust that I'm going to be able to outspeed, so I go for Flame Charge, with her taking over half as Sand Attack lands, but because I saw Flame Charge let me outspeed this go around, I know that I can just go for Flare Blitz and seal the deal with the KO and the win of the Feather Badge. Alright, we're closing in on the climax of the game, and it's going rather well all things considered. After a trip through Route 121 and seeing Team Magma head over to Mount Pyre, I stop in Lily Cove City and figured I'd take on the last main rival fight of the game. After all, she was an easy to stomp Pipsqueak the last time around, so what would be any different here? Well, a lot actually. This is a completely different fight from what you'd expect in Ruby and Sapphire, since all of her Pokemon are evolved, including her starter, and she's added a Swellow to her team. Not that it matters, since both it and Magcargo are one-shots with Scald, leading to the newly evolved Swampert, who goes down to 2 Steam Eruptions after landing a Mud Bomb, which does lower my accuracy and lead into Breloom. Turns out that was relevant because Flare Blitz doesn't connect as she wastes her turn with Mind Reader, thankfully allowing me to hit the second attempt and KO for the win. Probably should have waited until after Mount Pyre to take on that fight, but hey, it's the best scare the rival's been able to give me all game, so I'll take it. To Mount Pyre we go, and shortly we leave, because most of the grunts up here are just easy pickings for Volcanion, allowing me to take the Blue Orb and move on to the whole submarine debacle in Slateport, only to go to the hideout up in Lily Cove to have both a horde battle against 5 Poochyenas that takes way too much time, because of course all of them have Roar and I need an HM to get in here, and another Admin Courtney fight that ends up being another pub stomping. With her down though, it's a straight shot into Moss Deep City and the 7th gym leader duo of Tate and Liza. Oh, excuse me, sorry, Liza and Tate. Doesn't really roll off the tongue as well as like that, but, you know, the game is just gonna be contrarian. It's a forced double battle, so to keep with the legendary trope here, I stick my Latios in the second slot and just use a bunch of useless items on itself, like antidotes when it's not actually poisoned, so that it doesn't attack. Not that it matters though, since Volcanion's able to blast both of them with Steam Eruption to one-shot, and yeah, that includes the Lunatone that sets up Light Screen before I'm able to KO it since I have to go after Soul Rock first. That's some pretty good power behind me. With Mind Badge in hand though, all that's left is the Rain Badge, but we've got a few little annoyances to clear out first. First things first, making Sutalpolis a flyable location, and secondly, Seafloor Cavern to plow through the remainder of Team Magma. Maxie's here at the end and finally busts out his Mega Camerupt, but this should still be extremely manageable thanks to our type advantage. First up is Mightyena, a pretty easy KO with Steam Eruption, but how the heck are we standing on molten lava? This makes no sense, even for Volcanion, since it would just get melted to a crisp, despite being a fire type, and Mightyena has absolutely no justification here. At least Weezing and Crobat have some defense due to levitating and flying respectively, but they're over molten lava. They'd be melting because of the vicinity of which it's in, so that's not that it matters, since they're both KO'd with Steam Eruption and 2 Scalds respectively, leaving just Camerupt. And you know, the Mega Evolution animation's cool, and Mega Camerupt is funny, but it goes down to Scald to win the match. One big-ass cutscene later, and one Primal Groudon being a complete dumbass and not using ground moves on the fire type until the very last moment, and it's time for our final gym battle against Wallace. He's got water types, and we've got Water Absorb, so we should be fine. But we don't have anything outside of the newly learned Earthquake to do neutral damage. Guess we'll have to soak up as much damage as possible. First up on his team is Love Disc, using Sweet Kiss and missing as I go for Scald for over half, then use a second after taking a second Sweet Kiss and healing it off with a held Person Berry to KO. Alright, first down, no damage. Second is Quizcash, and Steam Eruption should be able to just KO outright here. But it's range, and he wastes his turn by using Mudsport, meaning we get a heal-locked Whiscash and 2 Scalds with 100% accuracy on a Golden Plowder to serve up for a nice KO. 2 down, still at full HP, third out is Milotic, and yeah, this is the Pokemon that I was most expecting the deadlock to happen with, since I'm basically sitting here hoping I can burn it as fast as possible, since I want to accumulate more damage on it, only to realize that, yeah, Marvel Scale is a thing, and that nullifies the extra damage I'd be getting from the burn. In fact, it probably is doing less now. Thankfully, Volcanion resists both Ice Beam and Disarming Voice, and heals off of Hydro Pump, but she never goes for Hydro Pump. I guess the AI knows that I have Water Absorb. But that's fine, I take a few points of damage every time Ice Beam or Disarming Voice hits, so I can just sit here and wail on her with a barrage of Earthquakes, Scalds, Steam Eruptions, you name it, except for Flare Blitz, and we're attacking with it to eventually get the KO. Told you that PP Max for Steam Eruption would come up eventually. Kinda wish I used the second one I found in the magma hideout for Earthquake here, but I digress. Fourth out is Celio, a pretty cut and dry case of knockout-itis with a critical scald that burns followed up by an Earthquake, leaving just Seaking to go down to 2 Earthquakes after wasting her one and only turn on Aqua Ring, earning me my last gym badge. Well then, Volcanion really tanked that one out. 5 Pokemon, and somehow all of them realized I had Water Absorb and didn't use a water move. Alright, all that's left is a quick trip through Victory Road and the League Challenge itself, but for one Wally and his Gallade. Epic theme song in hand, it's time to hand him the second and final L he'll be taking from my boiling fire machine. He starts off with Altaria, which is a great start against Volcanion, but I just used the not very effective Steam Eruption for half damage, getting the 2-shot with a burn on the first as he wastes his turn with Cotton Spore, leading to Magneton. Earthquake outspeeds and brings him down to 1 HP thanks to Sturdy, and while I do have a Lumberry attached because I'm expecting Discharge and the potential Paralysis, instead I see a Flash Cannon for about 10 damage as a Scald picks up the KO. Go 2 for 2 for bad decisions there, Wally. This pretty much assures me the win, as third out is Roselia, which falls to Flare Blitz, fourth out is Delcatty, falling to Steam Eruption, which just leaves Gallade, and I've got plenty of HP to survive through anything here, barring a nasty critical hit. Now, of course, Steam Eruption can also get the burn on this physical attacker, which would be great, but it doesn't, as Slash and Close Combat bring me pretty close to red HP, but hey, I've got one more Scald in me to pick up that last bit of damage for the win, and the victory before the league. Now, for some basic preparations, berries, full restores, making sure I have all of the necessary TMs for the league, since believe me, we are swapping moves like a madman, and a spare PP Max in hand, we should be in good shape. First up, Sydney, the Dark-type user, and I've got just the plan for him, and it's bad. I've got Focus Blast for his Sharpedo. But with his lead Mightyena, I've got Scald to burn him down after taking a light Sucker Punch, with Shiftry coming out second and landing Fake Out before Flamethrower gets the KO. Third out is Sharpedo and hits Crunch, but I'm lucky enough to hit that Focus Blast on the first try, instantly getting the KO as Absol comes in fourth. Steam Eruption is plenty enough for him, though his Night Slash does take Volcanion dangerously close to the red, but one more Flamethrower on his last Pokemon in Cacturne seals the deal. These battles are likely going to come down to Volcanion soaking up just enough damage to get by, though that's why I grabbed the TM for Rest, so that those battles I might have a chance of surviving, I will because I'll have Rest and be able to kind of cheese them. Phoebe is up next, and thankfully Volcanion's got Hidden Power Dark for this occasion, though it probably does less damage than a Stab Steam Eruption with hindsight, but my brain says, oh boy, super effective, go brrrr. Anyway, after I'm able to KO Dusclops with 3 hidden powers after the Lumberry cures Confusion, KOing after a full restore, it leads into Sableye, which is a one-shot with Steam Eruption after Fake Out does light damage and flinches. Third out is Dusknoir, who is also a 2-shot with hidden power after hitting a light Thunder Punch. Thankfully, I thought it was going to do more because it's super effective. And last out are the 2 Bayonets of the same level, both falling to 1 Steam Eruption apiece to put me at 2 out of 5 wins needed. Good stuff. Now for Glacia, I'm going to need Sunny Day. Not necessarily Solar Beam, but this to both power up Flamethrower as well as nullify hail damage, and both of her Frostlass's Snow Cloaks, because I'm probably going to miss despite it only being a +1 in evasion, technically. First up is Glalie, in which I waste a power point of Rest to let her set up Hail, then use Sunny Day next turn as she unfortunately goes for Light Screen. The upside here, though, is that Flamethrower is still a one-shot on Glalie, so we're at least burning 1 turn of Light Screen without taking any extra damage, as Walrein comes in second. Now, this guy only has Body Slam to hurt Volcanion with, but that 30% chance to paralyze is something that I'm definitely looking out for. Thankfully, I can heal that off with Rest anytime it happens, keeping Volcanion at about half HP after a barrage of Flamethrowers and Sunny Days keeps him at bay, leading to the first of 2 Frostlasses. The first nails Shadow Ball for a good chunk of damage as Flamethrower KOs, leading to the second. Now, I cannot try to survive an attack here with a 5th Pokemon in the back, so instead I go for Rest and just start clicking Rest over and over again in the hopes to drain her 5 power points of Ominous Wind without getting an Omni boost, and it does work. I'm able to eventually get through without confusion and at over half HP, KOing with Flamethrower and getting to the second and final Glalie, felling him with a single Flamethrower to end the match. Well, that was an extended beatdown, plus a bit of a body slam catastrophe with Volcanion. Very happy that Rest is an available TM, or I was never making it through alive. Now, if it were Calm Mind instead, I'm sure I would have already been done with the league, but I know how you all feel about me and Calm Mind sweeps. Alright, last up in the league is Drake, and he's a bit easier to deal with, though with some math involved. First out is Altaria, and I've got Sludge Wave as a neutral special attack to deal with most of his team, two-shotting after taking a Dragon Pulse and leading to Flygon. Now this Flygon has Earthquake, the second one doesn't, but this one also has Supersonic and is programmed to naturally go for that whenever it doesn't see the KO with Earthquake. So I'm able to get by scot-free with a held Lumberry, one-shotting with Steam Eruption as the second Flygon comes in and falls to the same way. Fourth out is Salamence, and likely his most frustrating Pokemon to deal with, but his whole moveset is physical, so Steam Eruption, hoping for the 30% chance to burn, is clearly the way to go here, and sure enough, the first one gets a burn after Dragon Rush misses, but the second one gets a flinch and leads to too much damage on Salamence and a full restore afterwards, giving me the chance to at least hit a second one, which doesn't get the burn, and then he gets to hit a second Dragon Rush, thankfully not flinching, since if it did, Volcanion was dead, and I'm able to take him out with one last Steam Eruption, leaving just Kingdra. Now thankfully Volcanion can outspeed Kingdra and outpaces damage from Dragon Pulse with Rest, so I just start using it over and over again until he's out of power points. But Kingdra just kinda sorta gives up and starts using Ice Beam, as if he was inviting me to just end the battle with Sludge Wave as fast as possible. Well then, what a courteous seahorse. I hope you enjoy your nice trip to Hell's Resort. All we got left is Steven, and we're going back to the tried and true Scald over Sludge Wave, and boy howdy is this battle just a numbers game. Firstly, Skarmory has Toxic, and it's got 90% accuracy. Did it land? No? Well then good, you have your Lumberry for later. If it does land, in the case that it happens to me, I'm able to at least heal lock him after the Lumberry nullifies Toxic, KOing with a Flamethrower, then a Scald after a full restore that ends up burning, leading to Aggron. Now, for another game. Steam Eruption can burn at a 30% rate here, but if it doesn't, Stone Edge has a 20% chance of missing. Thankfully, to me, the latter happens as Scald grabs the KO after Steam Eruption, with Claydol coming in third and going down immediately to Steam Eruption. Fourth out is Cradilly, and she's the last member of Steven's team that has a game attached to it. Did you get past Skarmory without getting hit with Toxic? Yes? Well then this is a free KO, since Confuse Ray will be negated by the Lumberry. No? Well, in the case of me, I gotta power through the confusion while also using Scald first. If I use Steam Eruption and get the burn here, Steven is guaranteed to get into full restore range and make this fight harder. So by using Scald and Steam Eruption back to back like that, I'm eventually able to KO through Ancient Power, without hitting myself too many times, because if I did, I was dead anyway. But with Cradilly gone, all that's left is Armaldo and Metagross, essentially home free, as Armaldo falls to Steam Eruption, and Metagross, despite Mega Evolving, falls to Flamethrower. This is because of the way that Gen 6 Mega Evolutions work, as I'm still able to outspeed because the speed gain doesn't take effect until next turn, giving me more than enough time to hit that single Flamethrower to win. And with that, we've completed a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Omega Ruby using a single Volcanion. Or did we? Yeah, we've got that post-credits rival battle, and yes, this isn't technically part of the Nuzlocke, I've already won, but I've gotta at least show the funniest ending that probably could have occurred here. I'm sitting here in a deadlock with Breloom in the hopes that I can drain out his power points with my now PP maxed Rest, eventually KOing with half HP and going into Swampert, but this Swampert's got a Mega Stone, though only super effective physical attacks are threats here, so I go for the neutral Steam Eruption in the hopes to get that 30% burn, and I do. Perfect range for the burn to KO after this turn, in fact. But, of course, on the final attack that could have happened in this game, I get hit by a critical Earthquake, nullifying the attack reduction that the burn provided. Well, it was bound to happen eventually. Thanks for not killing my Volcanion during the actual run, as I have to burn another 6 hours of time. With that though, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to click all the links in the description, check them out, and I'll see you next time.